Hello and welcome to Hamer Reviews. My name is Christopher Hamer and today we're reviewing the Nikon 85mm 1.8 S lens for the Z mount series cameras. Now the 85mm lens was announced in 2019 and made available in September-October time and is a stalwart of Nikon's current Z mount lineup. It's quite an interesting prime in that it's perfect for portraits and is used by many on a regular basis in studios and on location. The 1.8S is an excellent example of an 85mm lens and I think it's a significant step up on the 85mm 1.8G that I've owned in the past. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that the sharpness, contrast and general colour rendition of this lens is far superior to the 1.8G and I think also better than the 1.4G that I've also used in the past. It must be said that Nikon's lens roadmap does include another 85mm lens, and I'd be very surprised if it wasn't a 1.2S akin to the 50mm 1.2S that was announced last year. So I'd expect that, but I'd also expect a massive price difference. This particular lens retails at £800, though is regularly available at around £700, which I think makes it a bit of a steal, given the fact that the 85mm 1.2S is probably going to cost 3 or 4 times the cost of this lens. Potentially more, to be fair. It's not like I know the pricing, but that would be my guess anyway. So other features of this lens, it comes with a nice lens hood, which is good. It's quite a deep one to account for the fact that obviously this is more of a telephoto prime. You get a 67mm cap as well, so that's the filter thread, 67mm, which I think is pretty much what I'd expect for this kind of lens. It's a lot longer than the 1.8G and sort of less wide, but that kind of fits with the general optical formulas that Nikon seems to be going with on the Z mount series cameras. You get a little auto manual switch on the side, akin to the other primes, and it also has a very nice large metal focusing ring. You can focus this manually, obviously, either by sort of just taking control without flicking the switch, or you can flick the switch into full manual, though it is worth noting that this focus ring isn't actually attached to anything. It's electronic, so as you move it, the sensor senses what you're trying to do, and the camera changes the focus accordingly. It does mean that it can be quite fiddly to get the perfect focus, and despite the fact this has silent autofocusing, maybe doing manual video focusing with this is a bit more difficult than it would be with a manual lens that you could kind of learn and know how fast to pull it to get various focuses, whereas with this you kind of just need to guess and look at the on-screen guide so you know whether you're in focus or not. It's one of those things, I think we just have to get used to it. All of these Z mount lenses except for the 58mm like that, but yeah, it's just something a bit different with these. The optical formula, I don't want to sit on that. It's a kind of boring subject to many, but I thought it was interesting. It's 12 elements. You've got 2 ED elements and the nanocrystal coats, etc. Nikon no longer puts those big gold emblems on their lenses telling you whether these have, ED or nanocrystal, etc. But this does, which I think is why you get such good sharpness from it and you get such good quality. As you can see from the sample images, which I took with my sister, we're still in lockdown, so there's only so much I can do, but we went out for a walk and I took some portraits along the way. I think that this is a really interesting lens. I also did a bit of walk around photography with it, using it. It's not really the right focal length for me for sort of like street photography and just general purpose photography, but it is superbly sharp. And that 1.8 maximum aperture is actually really good. I found that the bokeh was very pleasing. I enjoyed the out of focus elements I could get with it. You could really blur the background out. And overall it was pretty good actually. I really enjoyed using it. The silent autofocus means you can use it for video as well, though personally I think it's a bit too long for that, but some people may well have a use for that. And it is an enjoyable lens. It is very well made. It uses high quality plastics and metal, and it just feels very, very solid. And as a result, I wouldn't feel worried using this in rougher conditions. You can get it absolutely wet and it will be fine. It should be, at least. Don't put it underwater, but use it in the rain and you shouldn't have to worry. It is weather sealed. So Nikon's kind of done a good job. I think that despite the fact this probably isn't the pro 85mm we're going to get for the Z mount series, it's very capable, and I think the majority of people will enjoy this. With image quality that's so close to the 1.4G, it's certainly not going to be a lens that anyone really turns their nose up to. I'd be very surprised. It's probably one of the sharper primes. I've ever used, and it's up there with the 35, 50, and 85, you know, in this 85mm that I've used. They're all very similar in terms of those standard primes for Z mount. So overall, I'm really impressed by this. I think it's an excellent lens. I hope the sample photos give you an idea of what it's like. I won't be adding it, I don't think, to my sort of lenses that I use that often, because I sort of have a different personal roadmap of lenses that I want to acquire. But I've really enjoyed shooting with it, and I can imagine I might rent it again in the future if it's the kind of thing I'm shooting. If I'm shooting mostly portraits, it's certainly the lens to have. So I hope you enjoyed this short little review. If you have any questions, pop them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. The other button works fine too. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, as it really helps and I really, really would appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.